As the Doctor tells us in The Devil's Cord, in all of his adventures, there's always a twist at the end. But that's not the only twist to be found in Doctor Who at the moment. One of the main ongoing mysteries for this season, and indeed RTD2 as a whole, involves the actress Susan Twist, who keeps cropping up as various different characters across time and space, on Earth, off-world, all sorts of mad things, and fans have been wondering since she first appeared, what the hell is going on? I've already covered Susan Twist on the channel and her first couple of appearances in the show, but in this video I will be checking in following Space Babies and The Devil's Cord to cover her most recent characters in both of those stories, and just generally speculating about where all this is heading. So a very quick recap for anybody who is not already aware. Susan Twist first appeared as one of the 3 redacted cast members in Wild Blue Yonder. At the time we thought nothing of it, but obviously now it seems to be the start of something much bigger than anyone could ever have envisaged. So she played Mrs. Merridew, the maid to Isaac Newton, there sweeping his path, telling him to go off and have a good idea and not come back until he's had that very good idea. And yeah, it was kind of like a one-off character, or so it seemed, just appearing for a matter of seconds in the background in the opening moments of that story. We saw her again in the church on Ruby Road, playing a hippie heckler in the pub where Ruby and her band are playing a couple of days before Christmas. She's there, she's asking the band to do a cover of Celeste Band's cover of Gaudete. Again, just a very brief appearance, one that actually completely passed me by when I first watched the episode. I didn't have a clue until I looked on Twitter and saw people pointing this thing out. And even now we didn't know for sure whether that was Susan Twist or not, because the character wasn't credited. But when BBC Writers, formerly BBC Writers' Room, released the script for the church on Ruby Road, it became very clear what was going on. It was all confirmed. There's a very clear reference in that script, in the shooting script, to this being the same person we saw in Wild Blue Yonder, a woman who we're going to see a lot more of in the future. I should also say that prior to the premiere of Season 1, there were a couple of other references kind of in trailers and just around the show to Susan Twist and to the character she could be playing. So in a Blue Peter interview filmed in Russell T Davies' office at Wolf Studios in Wales, where Doctor Who is shot, on the wall in the background there is a framed magazine cover for Time Person of the Year or something like that, and the person in question is Susan Triad. We got another reference to a Susan or S triad in one of the trailers for Season 1, where the TARDIS lands in units, heavily believed to be from the finale, this particular sequence. And there's a news report on one of the screens in the background that talks about an S triad technology announcement. Finally, there was another trailer released exclusively by Disney, which basically comprised a load of characters saying, Doctor, question mark, in loads of different scenarios from different episodes of Season 1. And it ends with the shots of Susan Twist, presumably playing Susan Triad at this point, presumably a clip from the finale, and she says, Doctor Who. Which brings us very nicely to the Season 1 premiere. Now, we knew beforehand that Susan was going to be appearing in The Devil's Cord as a tea lady, because that had been revealed in the credits, but nothing had been said about her appearing in Episode 1, Space Babies, and she did actually appear in that story in a blink and you'll miss it moment on a computer screen as one of the former crew members on the baby station when Jocelyn's kind of playing those field reports or field logs, whatever they were. She's there in the background, she's the last one we see. I think there are 3 people, 3 crew members that we see. And again, this one actually passed me by in the moment. I was kind of too focused on what was going on to actually register that it was her, and she did look quite different there with her kind of spaced uniform and her hair back. So it was a genuine surprise to find that it was her afterwards when people were talking about it on Twitter and stuff, and that is exactly as it should be. It shows the team are doing this right, the fact that they can put her in these episodes and no one will notice, and I'm sure there'll be loads of casual fans and casual viewers that just haven't picked up on any of this yet and might not do so for some time. It's worth noting that although the Doctor and Ruby do watch some of these field reports, they actually have their backs turned when this one is playing because they've been distracted by like a steaming pipe or something. And this seems to be a kind of recurring motif, at least at the moment, that the Doctor and Ruby are kind of in the same room as Susan Twist, so to speak, or the same kind of scene as her, but they are themselves not noticing the fact that she is there. They have their backs turned or they just miss her or something like that. Then as expected, we do see her again in episode 2, The Devil's Cord, as this tea lady when the Doctor and Ruby are there in the canteen in Abbey Road Studios, waiting for their tea to be prepared. They're kind of talking amongst themselves in the foreground, looking at this newspaper. The Doctor says, oh, something's gone wrong with time here, which may or may not be relevant to the whole Susan Twist thing. It could just be something to do with Maestro. It could be something bigger. They have their backs turned to Susan's character, and she also has her back turned to both them and the viewer and the audience at home. And then she turns around, we see her face, she's wearing glasses this time, so, again, slightly disguised and with a different outfit, different hairdo, but to anyone that's keeping track, it's clearly her. She puts the cups of tea down and then turns away again just as the Doctor reaches to grab them. So again, we have this idea of the Doctor literally being there in the same room, the same scene, so near but so far to this mysterious character and this whole mystery. And after the Doctor and Ruby have gone, this character mentions Margaret Lockwood, an actress, specifically her role in the 1945 film The Wicked Lady. Now I looked that up, apparently it's all to do with someone who goes off and becomes a highwaywoman, so kind of having this life of adventure, kind of leaving everything behind them and just going to do something for the fun of it. Which again, may or may not be important. I mean, I'm kind of inclined to believe that it is. But then, if we take that approach, I guess it means that everything Susan Twist has been saying in her various different appearances has some greater relevance to the whole thing with Gaudete, whatever it was that she was saying in her report in Space Babies. And then with Mrs. Married You in Wild Blue Yonder, it's a bit more obvious in that regard, because that's when the whole thing with Mavity started off, with the word gravity becoming Mavity. We've seen how that's kind of created ripples across time, with that affecting every other instance of gravity being used in the Doctor Who universe now. We saw that in Wild Blue Yonder, with the Doctor and Donna both using the word Mavity instead of the word gravity. We saw it with the Doctor's gloves in Church on Ruby Road, and then we saw it as well in Space Babies, very briefly, where the word Mavity appears on a screen. And when it comes to predicting who this mysterious character could be and what they're up to, it could either be a brand new character up to some mischief, causing mischief throughout time and space. It could also be a certain time meddler from the show's past, namely the meddling monk, who very much operates in this way, making small changes to time just for the fun of it, really, kind of just watching everything go wrong and taking pleasure from that. Regardless of whether this is an old character or a new character, I think that's definitely what's going on here, some change to time involving this whole Mavity thing. Susan Twist's character is clearly there in the background, just waiting for this showdown with the Doctor, or waiting for her plan to reach fruition. We know that she's also going to be appearing in Boom as a character called Ambulance. We have actually had a glimpse of that character already, I believe, in Doctor Who Unleashed, in the preview clip they showed for the story, which shows her face on a kind of blue tinted screen, and she's there speaking in kind of quite a clinical way, quite a bit like The Wire, I suppose, from Series 2, Idris Lanson. I'm guessing she's maybe the interface for some kind of machine or system, or maybe she's an AI, or maybe she's masquerading as an AI, and maybe this word, this name, ambulance, literally refers to that, to this kind of interface. I also think Boom could advance this mystery quite a bit as well, potentially, with the Doctor and Ruby starting to actually notice and acknowledge Susan Twist's character. Because in his preview for the story in the Radio Times, Russell says that the Doctor and Ruby are both about to meet someone who might, one day, change their lives forever. That to me sounds like a reference to Susan Twist's character, and if this ambulance thing is a kind of prominent part of the story, and something the Doctor and Ruby are unavoidably going to come into contact with, it would make sense for this to be the place where they start to acknowledge her and her different personas. Maybe they don't kind of join all the dots straight away, but maybe kind of seeing her gives them a sense of deja vu, and maybe when they see her the next time, they kind of think, oh my god, that's the same woman, and then they start to kind of piece it together. I will also throw into the mix that Ruby is obviously looking for her mother at the moment, her birth mother. They've kind of promised in the show that we're going to see her mother at some point, probably in the finale. But could we have already met her? Could she be Susan Twist's character? I think it would make a certain sort of sense, in the sense that, casual viewers won't have clocked this character at all, like I say, so she's kind of there, hidden in plain sight. And Mrs. Flood, by contrast, is very much in the spotlight. Maybe she's a red herring, maybe we're meant to think that it's her, or maybe casual viewers are meant to think that it's her, that's Ruby's mum, whereas actually it's Susan Twist's character. Obviously to the fans that would be kind of predictable, but I think generally speaking it would be subtle enough a twist for the casual viewer. And on a similar theme, could Susan Twist's character be part of this pantheon of gods, one of these godlike beings? Could she be the one who waits? I mean, she's certainly been waiting for a very long time, ever since the 17th century. Those are my very chaotic thoughts and theories about Susan Twist and how this mystery is all shaping up. But what do you think? Who do you think she is? Someone from the show's past? A brand new character? Is she the one who waits? Is she Ruby's mum? Is she the meddling monk? Be sure to let me know down in the comments below. If you have enjoyed this video, please do leave a like, and make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new for more Season 1 content in the future, but also more Season Twist content in the future. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and remember, there's always a twist.